Today's perfect, I guess. Couldn't ask for a better view. Maybe I won't even close my eyes.
Excuse me!
Huh?
Sorry, didn't mean to stop you admiring the view, but, do you know where Naoko Bakery is?
Yeah? My uncle owns that shop. If you follow the bridge and make a...
No way! So your uncle's the guy who makes those delicious chocolate eclairs with the strawberry filling?
Well, sure. They're a little too sweet for me, but people seem to like them.
Too sweet? Are you nuts? They're perfect!
He offers them when I help out after school, but I've never had much of a sweet tooth.
You've got the keys to baked goods heaven, and you want to be picky? Do you at least score some of the sweet stuff for your friends?
I don't think my uncle would like that. Even if he did, I don't have many friends to give them to.
Oh. I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, I'm not a shut-in or anything. It's just that school and working at the shop takes up so much of my time. It's just hard to socialize, you know?
Sure. That makes sense. But if you did have some friends, would you maybe slide a pastry their way? Discreetly.
Well, I don't think free would be fair to my uncle. I could maybe give a discount if he...
Yes! Knew it was my lucky day today! Come on!
Wait, what?
I'm low on funds, so time to see if you're true to your word. Got a walking, talking coupon here with me. So, let's go!
But I was...
I'm Ami, by the way.
Genki. Nice to meet you.
Okay, Genki. Only 2 lefts and a right, so I'm sure we can make it before the sun goes down.
Wait, I thought you didn't know the way to...
Oh, yeah! My blood sugar's really low, so my memory's fading. I need sweets ASAP! What? It's a serious medical condition!
Gotcha. Well, I guess I'll follow your lead.
Try and keep up. I can't believe you don't like the chocolate eclairs.
Today was perfect, but there'll be other days like today. Guess I'm not in any rush right now.
We all love art. The ability to portray complex thoughts, feelings, and experiences in a material way that's able to be digested by everyone around you. It's been a foundation of the human experience. It plays with our sensory functions like a fiddle, making us experience any and all forms of emotion, from just colorful pigments on a canvas or vibrations from a metal string. One of the best aspects of art is the malleability of it all. Art isn't just what the artist intends, it's also given life by those who view it. Your own personality and story blends into the work, making a wholly unique interpretation. Have you ever had a piece of art that just speaks to the innermost part of your soul? A painting that you just can't look away from? A song that draws you away from reality? How about a movie that speaks to you so closely that it feels like it was handmade specifically for your eyes? Well, in my life, I've only had 2 movies like that. The first was Soul, which helped me deal with some career and life frustrations I was experiencing at the time. The other, which I would say is my favorite movie of all time, is A Silent Voice. Never had I experienced a story touch on its themes so raw yet gracefully. It displays bullying, isolation, and shame in ways that other pieces of media could only hope to tackle with such finesse. Honestly, if anyone in the comments can suggest other films like it, I'd happily love to take a look, because films like this one need to be known about. It's based on a manga written by Yoshitoki Omai in 2013, and later was made into a film in 2016, produced by Kyoto Animations and directed by Naoko Yamada. If you couldn't tell from the gorgeous animation, this movie was handled with so much love and care. It earned every offer of praise and accolade, even being nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, only to lose to Boss Baby. Well, yeah, media from other cultures is weird, but this is true art. Now, I suggest everyone see this movie for themselves. It's on Netflix, and based on their current library, it will be one of the better things you've probably watched on it. But today, I want to take the time to dissect my favorite film of all time down to its bare bones and show you all why this masterpiece is worth your time and can maybe even give you solace in hard times. Our introduction to our main character, Shoya, is a dour one. We see him performing worrying activities like quitting his job, selling all of his belongings, and paying back his debts. It shouldn't come as a shock when we see him walking on a bridge, contemplating ending his life. The first 2 minutes of this film perfectly encapsulates it. The shots are beautifully blocked and designed, with the lighting being warm and almost comforting, like looking at a sunset. All this beauty to show someone taking the steps to end their life in tragedy. Fortunately, he snaps out of his haze when he is distracted by some kids playing at the bottom of the bridge. This seems to trigger some memories of the past, memories of a better, simpler time. The movie introduces his younger self through a catchy montage which helps give a quick overview of his character at this age and serves as a good foil to the introduction of his older self. Shoya was a happy kid. He has a small but tight-knit family, friends to hang out and goof around with, and a craving for excitement. Though like most kids his age, he seems to focus on his own world and doesn't seem to handle change very well. This casual life hits a speed bump when a little girl is transferred into his class. This little girl is named Shoko, and she is deaf. Now, if this were a more simple movie, Shoko may have a rocky start introducing herself to her classmates and even face some mild bullying, but in the end, be accepted for who she is and grow up without mental scarring. This movie doesn't go in that direction. The other kids seem interested in Shoko, and even with some light teasing, helps her out in class. However, as time goes on, her disability becomes less of a unique character trait to the children and more of a hindrance to their everyday life.
Guess we won't be winning the choir contest. Say that again.
She becomes isolated by the other kids because they didn't try to get to know her as a person. They only saw her through her disability and then how cool, then annoying it was. Shoya didn't really care about Shoko until he saw how everyone else responded to her. With his simple brain, he thinks, oh, my friends are doing it. That means it's cool, like most other middle schoolers. I often joke that middle schoolers are sociopaths, which is kinda half true. They see how their peers act and often follow. Humans are social creatures, so we want to fit in, especially when we're young. Unfortunately, sometimes because of things outside of their control, some people have a harder time. Even when Shoko straight up asks Shoya if they can be friends, whether through implied peer pressure or just an immaturity in how to handle his emotions, he rejects her, calling her a freak. Shoko's hard time in class worsens when a girl named Naoko befriends her, but is also mocked relentlessly for it, so much so that she stops coming to class altogether. Now us with emotional maturity and reasoning can see that it was the other kids that led to Miyoko's absence. To a young Shoya, that wouldn't have happened without the new factor in all their lives, Shoko. So clearly Shoya isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. The author even describes Shoya as a simple-minded person who only thinks of things in terms of whether something feels right or wrong. He sees that Shoko is seemingly making everyone's lives harder, including the adults, so any malice and mocking towards her is justified, because her and her disability are ruining everything.
You know something? We're all sick of you and your notebook. It's getting pretty old, pretty fast.
This leads him to straight up bully Shoko. This motivation for Shoya's actions does not excuse his behavior, just gives it more context. In Western media, we often depict bullies as either people drunk on the power of their position on the social ladder, or misunderstood people whose only means of dealing with their frustrations is hurting others. Shoya is neither of these things. In the manga, an added motivation in bullying Shoko is out of boredom of his everyday life. It'd be so much easier to escape this boredom through tormenting her, rather than getting to know her, because it secures its place among his peers who are also engaging in her bullying, actively or not. This again is inexcusable, but understandable from the point of view of a child. Bullies don't always act out of malice. Sometimes it's a warped sense of fun with detached empathy for their victim. To them, Shoko isn't a person, just a plaything, and they're going to play with their new toy till it breaks. Shoya's bullying escalates in cruelty until the final straw when he causes physical harm to Shoko by forcibly removing her hearing aid. While not being able to see the emotional damage he was causing, he can't ignore the physical damage he just inflicted. Shoya and the class's antics catch up to them when they are confronted by the principal about Shoko's expensive hearing aids being repeatedly stolen and broken by them. Shoya shows a hint of self-awareness towards his actions and even seems to want to fess up to it. That would have been good, but that didn't happen.
Shoya! Stand up. We all know that it's you. I told you to stand up!
Yes, sir.
Before Shoya can do the right thing, he's outed by the teacher. At the moment, it seems like this is what a teacher should do. Call out a student who's been tormenting another. However, if you paid attention, you can see that left to his own devices, the teacher does nothing to reprimand the class or help Shoko, even when mockery was clearly demonstrated in front of him.
There was an awkward silence. His mother looked at him and waited.
That isn't funny. Sit down, Shoya.
His outburst here seems like a way to save face now that the stakes are higher with the principal involved. In the manga, he even passively states how annoyed he is at Shoko even being in his class. This trend continues because now all of Shoya's friends pin him as the sole bully. Even if they didn't actively torment Shoko like Shoya did, they stood by and encouraged him. Yes, he's arguably the ringleader, but he is now left holding the bag for everyone else's cruelty. He attempts to rectify this by outing his friends too, but snitches get stitches and this turns his friends against him. Turns out, Shoya was a means of entertainment like Shoko was. Once he was no longer fun to play with, they threw him out. Shoya is now the tormented one. Shoya's mom isn't informed of his antics and takes him to meet with Shoko's mom to pay her back for all the hearing aids that were broken. She comes back from what seems like an assault from Shoko's mom, which leaves her ear scarred. Unlike everyone else at school, Shoya now has a permanent reminder of his wrongdoings that stares him in the face every day. There is one last chance for redemption. Shoya finds Shoko at his own desk, removing graffiti left by the other kids. Even though he spent his time doing nothing but tormenting her, she is helping him when the same is done to him. I do think that this is an act of empathy on her part towards Shoya, but there's also an underlying reason as well. Shoko wants people to like her, like any child. She's too well aware of how her disability affects how others view her, so she tries to come off as friendly and likable as possible. I don't have any doubt that she is a kind, sweet, and caring person who is worthy of friendship, but she might feel differently. So she'll offer a smile and help whoever needs it, even if it's towards people who don't treat her right. Shoya sees the graffiti, and instead of thanking Shoko or even apologizing to her, he pins all of his pain and frustration onto her, blaming her for his current situation. This leads to a childish yet intense altercation. Instead of taking this assault, Shoko actually fights back. Here is a moment she snaps. Even after reaching out a hand of kindness to the main villain in her life, she is met yet again with negativity. She clearly cannot reach anyone at this school, so she leaves. This doesn't help Shoya regain his reputation though. With the help of his former friends, he is now isolated because of his past actions. Only him, alone. Pretty soon, he accepts his isolation as penance. He grows to become aware of his wrongs, but now he is constantly reminded, both at home and at school. You may think to yourself, well yeah, he deserves it. On the outside, I'd agree with you. Someone who bullied a young deaf girl for no reason, now being as isolated as she was? Beautiful irony right there. But we have to stop and remember that this is a child. Can you imagine how awful it would be for a mistake from your childhood to follow you around forever? You grow and change into a better person, but the mistakes you made are still affecting your life today? When does karmic punishment just become a living hell? It's a good question, right? At what point can we be forgiven for our past misdeeds, especially when we no longer identify with the person we were when we made those mistakes? Shoya grew to think never. He can only be relieved of his guilt through his passing, which led him to this bridge. What started off as a tender childhood memory soon evolved into his reasoning for being here in the first place. He could jump now, but he has one more thing to do. Older Shoya is a much different person now, just like anyone when you compare them to the middle schooler selves. Instead of living life to the fullest and being surrounded by friends, he now just lets life pass him by while being surrounded by peers who clearly love PlayStation when he prefers PC. The X's on people's faces are an imaginative way to show us Shoya's point of view. Because of his past rejection from peers and self-hatred, he blocks everyone out around him, except for some key exceptions like his family. The X's create a layer of separation so Shoya doesn't have to face anyone. This is supposed to protect him from recurring pain, a typical trauma response. He is close to his family, especially his mother, but again, the scar left on her ear from Shoko's mother still stares at him to this very day. He can never escape the damage he's done. With such overbearing shame and isolation, it only makes sense that Shoya would want to escape it. His last stop before his last drop is to finally face Shoko and apologize for what he did. He finally comes across her and has to summon every ounce of courage to talk to her. He was once so brazen in hurting her, but now he's the one feeling weak and helpless. The reunion is obviously a tenuous one. Shoya reminds her of who he is, maybe hoping that she doesn't even remember him. It'd be nice to think that his bullying was so minimal that it barely even registered. Well, unfortunately, it's quite the opposite. If we pay close attention to Shoko's face, we see an array of emotions happen one after the other. Disbelief, fear, feigning pleasantry which she can't even manage to hold up, confusion, then a second attempt at pleasantry that devolves into anger. All of this is told through nothing but facial expressions. Since she can't speak, it's important that the makers of the film convey her emotions through her face, or else she may come off as wooden. After a small chase, we as well as Shoko learn that Shoya has been learning sign language. While it's the best way to properly communicate his apology, we can't forget he actually pondered on learning it back in school before the other kids dismissed the idea. If he had been his own person, he might have actually given a shot and become closer to Shoko like Miyoko had. He might have also faced the same rejection that she did. Just wanted to point that out because on the outside, Shoya's actions might come off like he just wants to make himself feel better. But this is an example of him genuinely trying to make up for his past mistakes. I think this is even further emphasized when Shoya asks Shoko if they can be friends, the offer she gave him so long ago. After some self-harm, an outward representation of his self-hate, he sees Shoko crying. He may think it's through the shock of him asking this very question, which could partially be true, but we can see a soft smile behind her return notebook. And now we get to what's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. His mother gets Shoya to confess his plan to do the unthinkable. She gets it out of him through casual banter, but erupts in emotion once she confirms it.
I knew something was going on with you! Do not even try to deny it! Your room is clean for a change. You canceled your phone service and everything after April's been torn off from your calendar!
While threatening to burn the money he owed her from the hearing aids, he once again sees a scar in her ear. I feel that this time it isn't just a reminder of the past, but a warning for the future. He realizes that at this moment, if he did end his life, it could cause even further scarring to his mother, the person he seems to love the most. This, along with meeting Shoko, put his plans of the end on hold. At least, for now. Though if I had $3,000 burn up, I might consider taking a plunge myself. While Shoya and Shoko are dynamic and engaging characters in their own right, a story is only as good as its side cast. This goes for film and real life. While being able to love and accept yourself is key, you do need a supportive group of people to help along your path. Shoko seemed to have at least some sort of social life while in her school, but as shown before, Shoya doesn't have anyone. Even when others attempt to talk to him, he'd shy away. It's sort of understandable, since the last people he considered to be his close friends betrayed him and ruined any chance of forming connections throughout his grade school years. Isolation is a problem people seem to reference a lot but tend to flanderize to a degree. Isolation isn't just sitting in your room, binging Toradora for the 6th time, and laying in your bed listening to slowed down song playlists. These are symptoms of a much deeper issue. Isolation is having no meaningful connections, the feeling that the people around you, no matter how close relationship-wise, can't seem to acknowledge or understand who you really are. The loneliest people are the ones who feel that they don't deserve these connections, because they'll sabotage any chance they have of forming these connections, and sometimes even give up on a pursuit altogether. I kinda prefer this take that the movie provides, rather than the "they probably hate me so I hate all of them" mentality in the manga. Admittedly, it is another defense mechanism for people suffering from isolation. Unlike Shoko, whose feelings of isolation are thrusted upon her because of her disability, Shoya's are completely self-inflicted at this point, which is why Shoko seems to have an easier time connecting with people later in life than Shoya does. This all changes with a small act of kindness from Shoya, who saves a guy from having his bike stolen at the expense of his own. This act is rewarded with the return of his bike and the unsolicited assumption of friendship from the guy, whose name is Tomohiro.
Is something wrong?
Tomohiro states, yeah, we're friends, and Shoya just kinda goes along with it. It may seem weird off the jump, but it's sort of how friendship operates in real life. You meet someone, you click, hang out, decide you like hanging out, and then suddenly you're BFFs. Rarely does friendship need to be defined like romantic relationships, so it's one of the most natural relationships you can form.
Hey, do you mind if I ask you something? What does it mean to become someone's friend?
Friendship don't gotta do with no rules or qualifications, 'cause it's about something deeper. A bond, and you just can't break that.
Tomohiro sees that Shoya is a good guy, and thinks he's cool to hang out with. After some confusion and hesitation, Shoya accepts his friendship. Tomohiro is exactly the type of friend Shoya needs. He's supportive of his actions and sticks up for him when Shoya falters. Tomohiro is the kind of person that when you talk bad about yourself, he'll say, "Shut up, that's my friend you're talking about." With no friends in his life, Shoya had plenty of time to sulk about the past. Now friends like Tomohiro keep him too busy and allow him to live in the present. Think that this is the best time to introduce the rest of the supportive cast. First is Shoko's sister, Yuzuru. She's a bit of a rebellious tomboy with an interest in photographing dead things and has a lot of love for her older sister. She grew up witnessing some of Shoko's harsh treatment from others and developed a need to protect her. She even dons his tomboy look to appear more masculine, since Shoko's mother believed that Shoko wouldn't get picked on so much if she were a boy. Being her sister, Yuzuru gets to see more sides of Shoko than anyone else. Shoko isn't afraid to show anger and sorrow in front of her, which is good that she has someone to convey these feelings to. The second time Shoya comes to see Shoko, she attempts to push him away. She has a right to hate him after all. The relationship between Yuzuru and Shoya flourishes, however. Even after she gets him suspended by sharing a photo online of him jumping off of a bridge to help Shoko, he still helps her out after she runs away because Shoko scolds her for sharing said picture. She basically becomes like a little sister to Shoya as he tries to guide her through her feelings and issues with her family.
You sure you're okay?
Yeah, everything's cool.
Then why were you crying just now? Come on.
This actually doesn't have anything to do with you.
I'm just worried about you, okay?
I don't believe it. You sound just like my grandma.
Another player on Team Shoko is Miyoko, my personal favorite. It's easy to say that Miyoko is a foil to Shoya. She hasn't let her regrets of the past keep her static. She's grown in more ways than one. She happily and without much friction forms a close bond with Shoko like no time has passed. This growth is further shown in the manga, which more emphasizes her friendship with her former tormentor Naoko, who we will discuss more of in a bit. She realized her weaknesses and overcame them to great success. Then there's Miki, who is complicated. The fandom leans on her character more negatively, and I can see it. She's that kind of person who goes along with a bit, but as soon as an authority figure steps in to scold, she's the first one to blame others. That pretty much happens when Shoya is called out for bullying Shoko, which she wasn't an innocent party in.
That's mean. I would never do anything like that. How could you?
She clearly tries to do the right thing most of the time, but can admit her own shortcomings. She has to talk herself up to overcome her insecurities, but refuses to look at herself objectively, which is essential to positive change. While I still may have some reservations towards her character, I still see room for growth. I'm sure this growth will be aided by the apple of her eye, Toshi. So Toshi got the short end of the stick in the adaptation from the manga. In the movie, he just seems like some guy who apparently thinks Shoya is kinda cool and starts hanging with the group. Doesn't get many lines or scenes that characterizes him, and I think it's a damn shame, so I'm gonna be pulling heavily from the manga here. He serves as yet another foil to Shoya, mainly that he reviles bullying and lets nothing stop him from demonstrating so, even if it causes issues for himself, which is probably what Shoya wished he was like in middle school. Even with his creed, he still recognizes that inner want for revenge on his own bullies from childhood. This motivates him wanting to become a teacher and influencing their kids to not turn out like their parents. Luckily, he decides against this weird life goal. So yeah, Toshi's cool. And then there's Naoko. Naoko is a very interesting case, almost as much as Shoko and Shoya. She has a very no-nonsense, speak your mind kind of personality, but in a way that makes you think, oh, she's just using this to be a bitch. And yeah, I'm right there with you. First off, it's arguable that she was a catalyst of Shoko's childhood bullying. She was the first one to bring up Shoko's disability being a hindrance to the class and made her distaste for the class learning sign language very vocal, which influenced Shoya.
Miss Kita,
Yes?
why can't we just write in her notebook? It would be easier for me if I could just write stuff down.
This of course doesn't absolve Shoya of joining in on a teardown, but it's safe to say that she's at least a co-conspirator. Once we're reintroduced to her in the present, well, nothing's changed. She sees no issue with what she and Shoya did, even revels in it, like time spent bullying Shoko was them making precious childhood memories. When she meets Shoko again, she wants to literally repeat history and play with Shoko's hearing aids. Naoko is the closest thing the story has to an antagonist. She serves as a brutal reminder of the darkest part of both Shoya and Shoko's past, Shoya's past behavior, and Shoko's past torment. She even laughs at the idea that Shoya would even become friends with Shoko, given their history. Naoko is a clear example of someone who doesn't believe a person can change. She doesn't wallow in the past like Shoya, redefine it like Mimi, or use it as a springboard like Miyoko. She just blissfully lives in it. Naoko is just as stuck in the past as Shoya, but embraces the cruelty she had towards Shoko. Shoya is ashamed of who he was, but goes through the discomfort that change can bring because he wants to atone. Naoko is stuck, either unknowing of the callousness of her behavior or unwilling to go through the uncomfortable process of change like Shoya. There are people who see the good change can bring and are willing to do whatever it takes, and there are people who, despite their workable flaws, think change is an illusion. So that's our motley crew of teens who formed this makeshift group therapy session. Despite some quirks, I think they help branch the story out and give some perspectives outside of our leads. It's an imperfect friend group, but which friend group composed of high school seniors is completely devoid of drama, right? Here's the part where Shoko gets a bit more light shined on her. Until now, we only really saw her as a victim and a vessel for Shoya's redemption arc, but I'm glad that we can actually get to know her as a character a bit more. After their interaction with Naoko, we see some slight changes in Shoko. She's put up her hair in a ponytail and is a lot more vocal than ever before. This could be due to her becoming slightly insecure after seeing Shoya with Naoko. She recognizes that there is some history between them and maybe couldn't pick up on a tenuous exchange since she wasn't able to understand what they were saying. At this point, Shoko clearly has developed feelings for Shoya, which I think is pretty dang cute. Enemies and lovers trope aside, I think it works. It's not overemphasized in the film, so it doesn't take away from the overall story, and in the end, we don't even know the result. I'm glad this potential romance stays as a footnote and a hint to these characters' possible future. You may think it weird that a girl has a crush on a boy who bullied her, but I read it as Shoko genuinely thinking that Shoya has changed. The boy she knew who bullied her is no longer around, and now there's this boy who wants to get to know her and spend time with her. This is prime crush material. I think these feelings would be definitely reciprocated if Shoya wasn't a stereotypical dense protagonist. However, I can excuse his cluelessness. If you remember, Shoya hates himself. The boy can barely have normal platonic interactions, so forget him thinking he could ever handle romantic ones. He doubts Shoko really wants to be his friend because of their past, which she seems to let go of, but at this point, he can't. He already believes he needs to walk on eggshells with her, so he's definitely not going to think, oh, she likes me. Their interaction at the bridge where they feed koi fish proves as much. Shoko is much more vocal, actually attempting to talk to Shoya without sign language.
Where are you going, Shoya?
What was that? Where am I going? Yuzuru asked me to get some bread to feed the koi.
But she already has some bread. I bet she only wants them more so she can eat it. You don't have to buy her
slow
any.
down,
I
Zach.
can't believe she made you do
Wait,
that
just-
for her.
Devoid of any social graces, Shoya asks her to sign instead.
Is my voice weird?
Yeah.
Still ever resilient, Shoko gives Shoya a gift, which honestly I have no idea what they mean. I know they're flower pot decorations, but even my fanboy brain can't decipher what they mean. If you all want to take a crack at it, please leave some interpretations in the comments. Anyway, the real showstopper is Shoko's last chance to get through Shoya's thick skull.
The moon?
In a movie full of depression, self-hatred, and literally going over the rails, this is the scene that made me squirm the most. So why did Shoko act this way? It would have been easier to just be her usual self and sign her feelings for Shoya. Well, not to her it wouldn't. Shoko's deafness is not only a disability, but a barrier for her. She has a much harder time connecting with people because of how hard it is to establish communication. Even in school, she had to communicate through writing, and the one person who made an effort to communicate with her stopped showing up. She sees the effort other people had to put in to speak with her, and she figured maybe she should do the same. It can also be that this scene is her trying to overcome her disability. She feels that she has a better chance of getting with Shoya if her deafness weren't an issue. By speaking, she's trying to show that she can be normal, and not the little deaf girl Shoya seemed to hate in middle school so much. Even with her best attempt, Shoya still can't understand her. She's tearing her heart out trying to convey already complicated and scary feelings through means she's not used to, which is admirable, but ultimately fruitless. She's always been so passive with her life, and now her one attempt to finally go after what she wants is thwarted by what she feels is her biggest weakness. You know what helps with heartbreak and a total loss of belief in yourself? A fun day with your friends and Naoko at an amusement park. Fun is had by everyone this day, especially Shoya. He lets go of all the guilt and shame he feels he has to hold on to and just enjoys himself. He slowly realizes that the people around him are his friends, and for that moment, feels the same way he did all those years ago. And who can you guess is gonna ruin that? In an attempt to have Shoya regress, think about the past more positively, Naoko manipulates a meeting between him and one of his old friends. This works, but not in the way that she had hoped. This one momentary interaction with a reminder of his past sends Shoya into an even deeper downward spiral. This traumatic trigger makes him doubt all the progress he's made so far. It also brings back his paranoia about anyone else finding out about his past. It gets so bad that he even asks Miki if she has told anyone at the school about him. This has the opposite effect because Miki gets offended and outs Shoya as Shoko's former soul tormentor.
What? You picked on Shoko?
Yeah, it was him. He was the one who made Shoko's life a living hell. It was so awful. I kept begging him to leave her alone. But Shoya never listens to anyone. I was so scared of him.
His worst fear has come true, and history has repeated itself. This all culminates into a breakdown of the group on the bridge. Miki half-heartedly apologizes, and it's actually Naoko that calls her out on her convenient recollection of past events.
You can't blame everything that happened on Shoya. We were all guilty.
We? But no, that isn't true.
What's not?
I never made fun of Shoko or did anything to bully her the way the rest of you guys did.
You're right. You just sat back and laughed along with everyone else.
Did not?
Shoya has had enough of this drama and fully shuts down. As his friends try to comfort him, he does my job for me and calls them out on their defining character flaws.
I can't stand martyrs.
Stop trying to drag everybody else down to your level.
That was harsh. You didn't have to
Oh, please, Miyoko. We all know that you just run away whenever things get tense.
Shelia, what's gotten into you?
God, will you just stop talking? You really love the sound of your own voice, don't you?
Listen, man, no matter what anyone says, I've got your back.
I don't care. Will you just back off? You hardly know me.
I can't take this anymore. I'm not staying here.
He's cutting everyone off due to his hatred of himself, now being directed onto those around him. Everyone except Shoko. Shoko is his lifeline at this point. He can't risk losing her. His friends are the reason he's in this situation, so he casts them out like Naoko does Shoko. Shoko is all he has left, and Shoko recognizes this. This scene feels the most raw because we see all of Shoya's progress getting flushed away. It's heartbreaking to see someone make so much stride in improving themselves, only to fall back into old habits. It goes pretty much the same in the manga. Only in the manga, Toji decks Shoya in the head. Told you it's cooler in the manga. During the summer break, Shoya and Shoko spend some quality time together. Awkward, slightly unhinged quality time. Shoya's regression is unfortunately still occurring, just being expressed in a different way. Here, Shoya is using Shoko. Before, them being together was out of genuine want to be friends and to get to know each other. He's now using her to distract himself. In the past, he used her to remedy his boredom, and now it's to hide from the shame of losing the rest of his friends. He's using her as a means of escape, instead of seeing her like an autonomous person. Shoya relies on her to confirm that he's changed. He needs her smile to be the indication that, even though he repeated past behavior, he's still a good person. Unfortunately, this is a delusion. Not only because Shoya won't see it, but because Shoko's smile is usually a lie. Shoko's people-pleasing can be seen as a bigger weakness to her making connections with others than her deafness. She wants people to like her and for everyone to get along, and what's a better way to have that happen than to just smile and nod? Not like she could properly convey her true feelings anyway. Shoko wouldn't have the confidence to call Shoya out on his behavior anyway, even if she believed it was his fault for pushing their friends away, which she doesn't. She believes it's all her fault. She believes that she's regressed too, by bringing Shoya down and driving a wedge between the people around her. She believes that this has been her curse since childhood, probably because her deafness via an illness caused her father to leave and her mother to go down a path of hardship. Of course, neither one of these things is her fault. Even if she is the catalyst for all these events, the true fault lies within the people around her, who are so stuck in their ways of thinking that they can't budge an inch to be considerate of her. This is brought up earlier in the film by Naoko in a not so gentle way. When the crew was at the amusement park, Naoko took Shoko onto the Ferris wheel. This is after she attempted to introduce Shoya to his old friend. We luckily get to see the little date between them via Yuzuru's secretly recording camera. Naoko fully dishes out her disdain for Shoko, about how annoyed she was with her in middle school, how she is the reason for Shoya losing all of his friends, and how she just plain hates her. It's callous, cruel, and brutally honest. One good thing I can say about Naoko is she doesn't mince words and she is her full, unabashed self.
Then you had to go run crying to the grown-ups. You got Shoya in trouble. And that's how he ended up losing every single one of his friends. You pretty much ruined everything for everyone. You get that, right?
She wants Shoko to accept this as a mutual hatred and to move on without pretending. But Shoko can't agree to this. She can't hate Naoko or anyone else, because she only hates
myself. What did you say?
Admitting this infuriates Naoko, who strikes her. She's disgusted by Shoko's people-pleasing and self-hatred because she doesn't see it as genuine. She sees it as a disgusting weakness that people with no real personality have. It's the same reason she was so dismissive of Shoya earlier. To her, Shoya is who he was in middle school, and him attempting to be someone different to her is a farce. To Naoko, people don't change. I hate agreeing with anything she says, but it is kind of off-putting how you can't really tell what Shoko is thinking because she just smiles. It's an attempt to connect, but actually creates distance. Though this tough love approach does the opposite of helping the situation. This interaction just confirmed Shoko's worst fears, just as Shoya's were confirmed. They both see themselves as their worst versions, and are having a hard time coping. Thanks, Naoko. Why do they invite her anywhere? The last stop on Shoko and Shoya's campaign is a festival. They hang out with her family to just chill and watch some fireworks. A common anime setting, but hell, I'll give it a pass. Small talk is attempted by Shoya, and Shoko reveals that her birthday has already passed. Shoya says that next year, they'll make sure to throw her a big party. Shoko just smiles. Shoko leaves early to head home, saying that she needs to study. Shoya finds it strange, but signs to her that he'll see her later. Shoko simply signs goodbye. A little while passes, and Yuzuru asks Shoya to head to the apartment to grab her camera. Shoya enters the apartment looking for the camera in Shoko. He finds the camera sitting on the counter and finds Shoko standing on the balcony. She's gazing up at the fireworks. She can feel the vibrations on her skin, see the colors they emit as they erupt in the night sky. She looks like she may be enjoying herself. Maybe she is. As she climbs the railing and stands ready to jump. He manages to save her at the exact right moment, dislocating her arm in the process. As he looks down on her, tears flooding her eyes, he sees the scar he left so long ago. Just then, he realizes that after all this time they spent together, he never actually apologized for what he did to her so long ago. He was too stuck inside himself, too preoccupied with his own feelings to see how low Shoko was getting. Maybe he hasn't really changed after all. He begs whatever forces out there to give him the strength to save Shoko. He promises to change his reclusive ways, to look everyone in the eye and be better than who he is now and has ever been. He finally finds the strength to save Shoko, but slips and falls in the process. Time has seemed to repeat itself. Shoya meets Shoko, uses her to fill some void in his life, loses his friends, then winds up back on the edge of the end. Only this time, he made sure to make it different by saving Shoko from this edge, instead of driving her to it. He couldn't sacrifice a life he knew back then for her, but now he's risking everything to correct that mistake. Shoya takes the leap not for his own life, but for someone else's. Luckily, Shoya isn't immediately killed by the fall. He's saved from the water, but is in a coma. The news affects everyone a bit differently. Shoko's mom and sister bow to Shoya's mother in apology since the fall was caused by him shaving Shoko. While Shoya's mom isn't angry at Shoko and her family, the same can't be said for Naoko.
You! Don't you dare try to play the victim! What? You finally felt bad for all the problems you created for everyone, so you decided to kill yourself? You're a loser. A deaf loser. You sit there in your own little world and ignore everyone else around you.
She sings the usual song of blaming Shoko's weakness for causing problems for her and Shoya. Shoko stays quiet and takes the abuse. It's Shoko's mom who intervenes, followed by her and Naoko getting into another simple yet raw altercation. Shoya's mom breaks him up and asks Shoko if she's alright. Before, Shoko was taking Naoko's rage as punishment for what happened to Shoya. It's what she deserves after all. She's ruined his life yet again, and maybe for good this time. But Shoya's own mother shows nothing but care for her, which she doesn't expect. She breaks down at her feet, apologizing and screaming with remorse. At home, Yuzuru begins taking down her photographs. When asked, she explains that the only reason for her grim pictures was to possibly dissuade Shoko from killing herself. She, out of everyone else, was the most keen on Shoko's thoughts of death. As mentioned earlier, Yuzuru is the only person Shoko trusts with her feelings. Her mother is too closed off, and she is too desperate to please other people to share any negative feelings with them. During the time of Shoko's torment from Shoya, Shoko told her sister that she wished that she was dead. Shoko's one outburst of genuine anguish and frustration traumatizes her sister. This tragic scene is only made sadder by another quote from the author. Shoko wishes that she could do so much more, but in reality, nothing goes according to her will. She may think most people just don't understand her. This obviously affected Yuzuru heavily. Being much too young to talk to her sister about such things, she was at a loss. She didn't want to lose her big sister, and she couldn't always be there to help her out. Her only means of helping was taking these pictures. It's tragic when someone you know is grappling with this ideation, but it's hard to feel like you have the means to help them through it. Each person's reason for wanting to end their life is different, so it can be hard to grapple with, especially when that person is close to you. You don't know how to help, but you don't want to open the door and one day see them after they've done the unthinkable. She did help her sister in the end, because it was her that got Shoya to the apartment to save Shoko. Her camera did end up saving Shoko after all. So since Shoya is out of commission, and Naoko is guarding his room to not let any Shinjis inside, it's time for Shoko's big arc. I found it interesting how even though Shoko is just as the main character as Shoya is, we never get her point of view or inner thoughts. You'd think in a movie about the effects of bullying, we'd get the victim side of the story. First off, I kinda like how we are as much in Shoko's head as Shoya is. Shoya is our point of view character, so we see the world mostly through his eyes. His doubts of what Shoko is really thinking leads us to wonder as well. A more concrete answer, however, is given by the author herself. I didn't want to write the story from the perspective of the one who was getting bullied, because I didn't think that was interesting to me or anyone else. To me, it's easier to get into the story from the perspective of a bully, or Shoya's point of view. I'm sure more readers can relate to Shoya than Shoko. Most people can only speculate what it feels like to be a girl with a disability who gets bullied, but the truth is, you won't be able to know how she really feels. I thought that was a more important point to convey, so I didn't want to reveal Shoko's inner thoughts or her true feelings. Having Shoya be the guilty party tests the reader's ability to empathize with him, and therefore, anyone else who has done wrong in their lives. Would any of us be as forgiving as Shoko to someone who treated us so poorly in the past? Especially if they show genuine change and remorse? Shoko may seem frail, but honestly, she's stronger than most people. Especially me, cause I'm petty like that. Shoko works to form back the friend group and get them to forgive Shoya, which really wasn't the issue. Shoya did tell them off, but they each recognized how easily he pointed out their flaws, and they were left grappling with it. They each get their own chapter in the manga to explore these, but unfortunately it wasn't expanded upon in the movie. Sometimes I wonder how the manga would have done if it was adapted into an anime, but based on the animation, I think a full series would have sent Japan into another recession. They did keep a bit of Mimiko's resolution, however. She's ashamed to face Shoya because he was right in her need to run from conflict. She realizes, or more so is reminded, that she still hasn't changed from who she was in middle school. She's also regretful of not being able to recognize Shoko's pain, which led her to the edge of that balcony. Here's another grim reminder of the mindset of someone who knows someone who was taking their life. Why didn't I see it? I should have recognized the signs. If only I had said something. They blame themselves for not seeing how much her loved one was hurting, even if the signs weren't obvious. Shoko assures her that she can still change, and Mimiko thanks her for coming back into her life. Throughout this chapter, Shoko is showing much more resolve. She's facing people and outwardly expressing what she wants, instead of going along with everyone else. The biggest show of this is her repeatedly attempting to reconcile with Naoko. It's debatable if Naoko even deserves a reconciliation, but we can just agree that Shoko is a better person who can guide her to being a nicer person. Here's hoping. After she dreams about Shoya dying, Shoko runs to their bridge and openly sobs in anguish over the real possibility of his death. This is the first time we've seen this level of emotion in her. I doubt she was incapable of it before, but she was always trying to keep her emotions downplayed to either make sure not to bring attention to herself, or feeling she doesn't deserve to display these emotions since everything bad that happens, in her mind, is her own fault. Believe it or not, this anguish is growth. Right on cue, Shoya wakes up from his coma and meets Shoko at the bridge. The red string of fate has guided these two lost souls to their destined spot. They are both so relieved that the other made it out that night okay. Believe it or not, this time it's Shoya who apologizes. He finally apologizes for his treatment of her all those years back. He also apologizes for how he's been treating her this recent time too. He realizes how he hasn't been treating her like a person and genuinely wants to connect with her now. They want each other in their lives to help them learn how to become stronger and live life to its fullest.
I was hoping that maybe you could teach me how to live.
Now another script would have made this scene feel romantic, purposefully or otherwise. This scene does a great job in showing that the possible romance between the two leads is not an important aspect of the story. This is two people with similar worldviews and insecurities coming together to help each other. It's often a mistake to think that a significant other will come into your life and drag you out of your dark place. Those who have no self-worth often get into relationships for the wrong reasons, and once that relationship ends, they can end up deeper in their despair. A significant other can help as much as anyone, but thinking you need one to start living a full life is not giving enough credit to your own strength. Shoko and Shoya are on the same path now and will guide each other. If a romance does come out of that, fine, but they need to figure themselves out first. Luckily, they have other friends who will also help them out. Speaking of, it's time for Shoya to return to school. He's of course nervous about facing the friends he turned away from. Shoya before might have just upped and quit school altogether rather than face this uncomfortable scenario. Now, he's owning up to his mistakes. He's not running or deflecting anymore. Plus, he has a promise to keep. Shoya's anxiety is cranked up because now the whole school knows about his near-death experience. Luckily, Shoko is there to lead him through this very brief moment of relapse. They're already helping each other move forward. Another moment of anxiety is added by his friends showing up. He attempts to apologize to them, but none of them are going to hear it over their relief that he's alright. Nevertheless, he apologizes anyway. Apologizing isn't always about having another person forgive you. It's also about showing remorse for your actions and re-establishing your relationship with others. Even though this group is rocky, I can tell they're all going to help each other. We even get some nice character growth of Naoko, who learns sign language just to insult Shoko.
Moron.
Shoko seems pretty stoked about it, so baby steps, I guess. And oh god, here comes the waterworks.
I have a big favor to ask all of you. Do you want to go together to the festival?
Shoya and crew walk through their school's festival and Shoya still blocks everyone out. Anxious, but still wanting to move forward with his life and keep his promise, he lets himself go. For most of his life at this point, he shied away from everyone, unworthy to hear their voices and to look them in their faces. The self-hate that burrowed inside him so long ago made him want to fade away. He now has a life to live for, people to live for, so it's time to test his strength. He first lets their voices in. Then, as he opens his eyes for the first time in what must have felt like an eternity, he sees the people around him. He sees the people, their faces, their emotions, who they really are. He's not going to shy away from them again. The X's have fallen and flown away, never to return. He's so awestruck, proud, and happy that he starts crying before he can even register how emotional he really is. He can now see the smiles of everyone who's touched his life. The last thing he sees is Shoko's smile. This smile is genuine. Probably one of the most genuine smiles he has ever seen from her. That smile to him is proof that he may no longer have to live in his self-made hell. That smile which he helped take away is finally back. Not only is he relieved for himself, but also for her. This scene touches the very depths of my soul. The second time I watched it, I cried harder than I had in years. The third time I watched it, I cried. Then the fourth, fifth, sixth, and even as I watched the scene to write this script. This isn't some cliche ending saying Shoya is now cured of all his issues. We saw a few scenes before proving that that isn't the case. Problems like those that stem from traumatic experiences with the years of fester don't just go away because you want them to. They take time, dedication, and support to mediate the issues that may never fully go away, but can be made easier on the mind to the point where they barely even register. This isn't Shoya seeing that he's changed entirely. It's his first time recognizing that change is truly possible. This is his first time recognizing the progress he's made. Him realizing that he won't be stuck in his self-hatred forever. Recognizing he has people around him who love him despite what he's done. He no longer has to hold on to that shame, hold on to that guilt, because at this very moment it doesn't matter. Shoya spent the whole movie wondering if he was worthy of everything he's gained. Even though he was doing his best to do good, he still questioned his intent, his genuineness in making things right. That voice in his head born of the past was always keeping him back. Now whenever that voice pops up, he has friends that'll outmatch it. No man is an island. Change and self-actualization not only comes from yourself, but with the people who are truly there for you. People who see you for who you truly are, warts and all. Isn't that what we all want? To know we're around those who love us for who we are and allow us to be our most genuine selves? I think something we also want is the ability to love ourselves just as much. Can be hard when we have that voice in our head that isn't making it easy. Even though that voice in our head isn't audible to others, it can be the loudest to us. It seems so strange how it can switch up on us. I'm handsome, or I'm hideous. I'm cool, or I'm a loser. I'm worthy of love, or I deserve death. The saddest thing is that we can become so reliant on it to dictate what's true. It can tell us so many things, but it's not always attached to reality. We grow when we don't let that voice in our head dictate who we are. We can finally be our true selves when we can live with that voice being silent. Should have probably checked my levels first. And they're alright. Alright. Thank you all so much for watching the video. It's been a labor of love for the past 6 months, and I'm just happy to see it out, happy to see it in the world. So I went into a lot of detail on why I think this movie is objectively good, objectively the best movie of all time, but I didn't really get into why I personally like it myself. That's a long and complicated story, which I'm happy to save for the end here. So when I first saw this movie, I kind of didn't like it. I liked it, but I thought it was kind of mid. I just came off a Toradora binge, so I was looking for the next slice of life romancing to fill the void in my life. So I watched it, thought it was pretty, liked the characters okay, but since the guy and the girl didn't get together in the end, I was like, oh, mid, 7 out of 10, move on. But, so I spent the next few years not even like really considering it, not even thinking about it. And then, I got low. I mean, in 2020, we all were low, most of us at least. But I was low for a while before that. A good long while before that. I just didn't know it. But it wasn't until when 2020 came that I hit rock bottom. And so, at this rock bottom, I thought, hey, let's try therapy. And thank God I did. Because you would not be seeing me right here on camera if it did. It helped raise my confidence. It helped me find myself, if you would. But I was still so stuck on that place I was at. It was hard to let go of that. Just like how Shoya felt. And so I don't know what motivated me to watch it again. I just thought, maybe I didn't watch it for a few years. I can watch it again. And it was like watching the movie for the first time again. Just a whole new perspective. Just seeing Shoya, how he lived his life, how shut in he was, how stuck in the past he was, and I felt that. I've never felt a character like that in my life. And so it made me even more invested in it. And the ending, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on the ending. That ending to where he finally, for a moment, lets that go. Let's go of that self-hate. Let's go of all that negativity he held on just for an evening. And then, oh my God. And that ending where he lets all that go just for an evening, I really did feel it. I related to it so much. And it's not like he's just like me IRL. It's more like I knew exactly how he felt. And like I said in the video, I cried harder than I had in such a long time. Because it gave me hope that change is possible. When you realize change happens slowly but surely, but unfortunately at a pace to where you can barely even recognize it. It becomes almost unfamiliar. You're just like, I'm still the shitty old me. I'm just doing a few new things that are good for me because I no longer want to hate myself like I once did. And there are points to where you recognize things weren't as they were before. You don't feel as they were before. And those moments of feeling like you are genuinely changing into a better version of yourself, that's one of the most over-encompassing but freeing feelings in the whole world. I know a lot of us get down on ourselves. A lot of us have made mistakes, have had things happen to us to feel like we just can't let go of. But I'm telling you, and this movie is telling you, that you can. You can be the best version of yourselves. It's not easy. You're going to doubt yourself to hell. And you're going to think sometimes that it's a pointless endeavor. But for a moment, really consider it. Let all that negativity out. And just feel that it's possible. Believe that it's possible. If you gotta think you're the dumbest person in the world, go ahead. Because that feeling changed my life. This movie helped me confirm that I was genuinely being a better person. Changing into a brighter, happier, more positive person. That change was possible. And I owe this movie everything for that. I owe a lot of people everything for that. But this movie, I feel like I owe something special to. So, if you're stuck and you don't think that change is a possibility, believe me when I say it is. Please. I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you've done. But please be compassionate of yourself. If you want to forgive, if you want to atone, if you want to be a genuine good person, just try. If that's the best you can do, at least you try that. I believe in you. Thank you for watching.